Hello, this is Rats with Team 4545 League, analyzing the game between Bad Move and Capitan Trueno. This event is Team 52 playoffs, last round. Little background, this is the under 2000 section. The winner of this match will be the under 2000 champion. The score is 1/2 to 1/2. So this is a position or a game where the white side needs to win, because the strategy of the match is win with white and draw with black. That's how you theoretically win a team event. That doesn't mean black can't win. Doesn't mean that at all. It just means if you win with white and draw with black as a team, you're going to win the match. All right. Actually, now the way this has worked out, this is the white team's second white in a row. They're going to be playing black the last two games. So especially for certain is black would really love a draw here and get some kind of advantage in the last two games. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, d4, knight f6. So far, so book. Not much going on. We've all seen this before. I've seen some people, they will approach this position. I'll just show it to you. They'll castle, and they'll invite e5. Now, I don't know theory on that, but I've seen people that will actually play this, and the idea is, even though you're going back, you're getting into a lesser known line, and black immediately starts counterattacking that white center. There's a lot of ways to do it. If it's black to play here, which it isn't, you have options of both c5 and d6, and it's kind of similar to things you do in the Alekhine defense. You can see the pawn structure of white is pretty much the same as that defense, where the bishop fianchettos. The only difference is the black king knight is sitting on e8 and sit over on b6. So if you're looking for something fresh to try, consider this. Do some homework. I can't show it all to you. You got to play around with it. I'll just give you some ideas. But it's not a bad choice, because like I say, it puts things mano a mano, you versus your opponent, and less of book theory. Okay, here we go. He plays d6, which is fine. Now, I have to make a pun here. Bad move, Mr. Bad Move, that's a bad move. I've talked about it in a number of my videos. Why are people playing these pawn to king rook 3 moves in the opening? Now, in the long run, and it works out, it's to support g4, so we'll forgive you from that aspect. You did follow through on a logical plan, and I'm not going to try to even begin to say how black can exploit that other than just playing his normal game. But, folks, these moves are poor. You've got to develop your pieces. If you develop your pieces, you have better chances in the long run. So it's going to be to support g4, which I accept, but to keep a black piece out of g4, let them go there. There's plenty of resources. All right. So I've said my piece. We'll move on. Both sides are moving quickly. They both gain over 3 minutes on their clock. Okay. And black just plays thematic moves, and so does white. So theoretically, maybe black should have... Let's just back it up. Instead of playing e5 right away, can you do knight c6? No, not yet. Well, you can, and you play this hyper modern style. You bring the knight back to b8, and eventually you get a knight into c5. You do a little maneuvering. It's a possibility. It's all personal preference. Okay, so clearly he wants to get the knight into c5, and sees a pin, breaks a pin. And now here comes the thematic g4. Now, bishop c8 may be inaccurate. It does get the bishop developed so that rook can develop, queen rook can develop. In so many of these videos that I've made, I've showed how long the white queen rook and white queen bishop stay on their original squares, as I like to say, black or white is giving the odds of a rook and a bishop. As much as I like that, it kind of gets rid of the flexibility of that knight on f6, because in some points black moves that knight with the intention of pushing his f-pawn. And in this case, there's even some lines where it can go to f5 and just challenge the white pawn storm. So in a moment, black's going to have to step back into the pin. He broke the pin, now he's going to have to step back into it. So here, we'll just see what happens. And these are just alternatives. Logically, there's nothing wrong with bishop d7, but there's some strategy to be said about it, why you don't want to make certain moves. And in the meantime, black hasn't followed through with his plan of knight c5 and a5. And let's just back it up a second. Let's see if he can actually do that. If knight c5, white's going to have b4 available, so kicking that knight right out of there, and black doesn't get his thematic a5 in ahead of time. So maybe knight a6 in itself was wrong. Maybe black should have played a5. Okay, let's get back to the main line. Okay, so there's bishop d7. Now white plays knight d2, and this has an ulterior motive to it. The ulterior motive is to make black step back into a pin. And once again, white is playing very quickly. He's even gained more time on his clock. Black slowed down just a little bit, but as we'll see, the idea is to play queen f3 here and make black step back into a pin. So if black sees that, how can he avoid it? Let's just consider if you want to avoid that. Well, we could play h6. That'll put the question to the bishop. The drawback with it is that it slightly weakens the king side, and that white has clearly demonstrated with his pawn thrust that he wants to attack there. So that's a drawback. You have to weigh the consequences of that when you against each other when you compare candidate moves. Another way to do it is to put the king on h8. h8 provides a flight square for the knight, and then the idea is you just sit there and play rock solid on the king side, and then try and develop your game or stay solid one way or the other. Because you're playing for a draw here, you're happy with the draw. Make white prove he has a win. What else is there to stop that? Well, we can always move the queen over to c8 so the knight gets e8 open, but that might be a little counterproductive to what we've done. So what other ways are there to stop queen f3? The knight has no other square to go to at the moment. The bishop doesn't really have any good squares to go to, so we can't clear d7 for the knight. So if you want to avoid having to step back into the pin, those are the two ways to do it, h6 or king h8. And then you compare that with queen e7 and decide which is the best. And I'm not here to say which one's the best. That's an evaluation you make when you're playing on the board and live or die with the result. And a lot of the result has to do with the strength of your opponent, because they will take advantage or not take advantage of your strategy as the game unfolds. So my goal is to try to help you consider various moves and various plans so that when you're at the board you can come up with these same or similar ideas, plan A, plan B, plan C. How do they stack up against each other? Which one do I like best? Which one do I don't like and want to avoid? And in a way, you're just analyzing like a computer engine would. They store millions of moves into them already with all the book positions, so they're going to play book theoretically perfectly. And after that, brute force analysis takes them 5, 6, 7 moves deep of every exhaustive possible position, and they're able to pick which one has the best evaluation, at least to the end of the horizon. And we as humans, if we make a tactical slip in those 5 moves deep, the computer's going to exploit it and beat us. So we have to use strategy since we can't look at the millions of positions, and most of them include a lot of horrible moves, we must develop our game under sound logical principles. Okay, so enough said on that. C5. And the game with, if you saw the video for the game with Slime Dog and Cow Cow yesterday, we had this position come up where the black could have locked up the queen side. And maybe black saw that video and said, gee, good idea. I don't know. I can dream that he saw it and learned something. But C5, what basically, and I'll say it again, is it basically says, I'll circle the pawns, this area now is off limits. Everything else must go around it. So to get from the king side and the queen side, it's there's this imaginary wall I'll draw here for white. Okay. And there's an imaginary wall here for black. Actually, I could have made it more accurate because C6 black can't get to. And that's the line of communication between the positions. Everything must move through those squares or behind them. So with development about equal, black has ample resources to defend anything white throws against him. So C5 is a good move. Now you get an idea why it's a good move. Okay. So queen F3. Now, as I said, the queen must step back into a pin for what it's worth. Can white do anything with that, though? That's how we compare the evaluations of should black have played H6 or king H8 and avoided it. Chess is so fascinating, so many possibilities. The more you think, the more you see. Okay, A6 or A3, knight C7, B4, B6. Finally developing that piece. Now, here, it's kind of interesting. Black does what Kakao did yesterday. He got rid of the possibility of the center locked and suddenly created all kinds of new options for this game to develop. And if you look down at the bottom in the screen, you'll see it says game drawn by mutual agreement. In the last 3 minutes, I'm going to complain about that. I don't know who offered the draw, but somebody had to accept it. It gives black exactly what he wants, a draw. Now black's team has a chance to play two whites and just needs to win one and draw the other, and they're section champions. But white has, now because this pawn exchange has occurred, white has all kinds of potential for activity to play this for a win. There's a backward pawn on the open file on A7. Now I'm not saying that'll stay backward pawn on the open file. Black has resources to hold it. So there's a plan there. White has an active break with C5 at some point. You got to prepare it, but white has all kinds of activity there. White has this pin on the knight, which has some kind of a nuisance value, and he's got a couple pawns advanced up the board, which could come into play. White has all kinds of options to play this for a win. Now, granted, winning the game is a long way off, but you don't want to take draws in positions like this in a team event. You want to play these out. If you lose, you lose. You gave it your shot. Because theoretically, because of the match standings, white has to play this for a win. Because by giving up a draw, you're saying to your opponent team, okay, you have two chances with white to beat us, and draw the other, and you're going to be the champion. So for playing for a team, you can't just take a draw. That's a bad move by a bad move. Okay, and I'm not don't take it personal. I'm talking strategy for the team, and as well as the possible strategy for playing this game for a win. Now, I don't know all the circumstances involved. It could be that black had to go and had to offer, or white had to go and just offered to draw, or whatever reason. I can't judge everything. I'm just saying I can go by the information I have in front of me, and the information I have in front of me is black has just given white an opportunity to have more winning chances, and whoever offered the draw didn't recognize white had winning chances, and there you go. So it's too bad the game didn't continue. We're all students of the game. We're all learning something every day. Next time you consider offering a draw, consider this game. Was it worth it? All right, I think that just about does it for this. I look forward to the last two games that these two teams play. I thank everybody for their time, and I hope this brief lesson was helpful. Thanks so much.